so much again, you guys, for joining us for our webinar today for Experts Hack One Event. At Brown Paper Tickets, we love events, and we are so excited to share our event hacks with you today. My name is Julia Tambari, and I'm going to be your moderator today, and I'm also the Marketing Communications Coordinator here at Brown Paper Tickets. Before that, I was with the Walt Disney Company, but I came to Brown Paper Tickets because I love the community we have created. That is also 100% because of guys like you. You all put on incredible events each year, and we want to make sure you're equipped with the right tools to continue making your events successful. A couple of quick housekeeping notes for the webinar today. If you have any questions for any of our experts, please make sure to use the chat box and set your settings to all panelists and attendees, and that will allow us to see your questions, and it'll allow the other participants in the webinar to see your questions. Since we have 4 speakers today, if you have a question for a specific individual, you can just @ them. So for example, @ Patrick. That way we know who the questions will get directed to. So without further ado, let's jump into introducing our experts today. So I'm so excited to share with everyone who our speakers are. These guys are true event pros, and I love seeing what they do day to day here at Brown Paper Tickets. First up, we have Chef Patrick Nelson. Patrick is our food and farm coordinator, and he works with local as well as national farms, restaurants, and breweries. Next up, we have Sten, who is in advanced client support, and he's also the coolest guy you don't know yet. Next, we have Annika Enriquez. Annika can manage the front end operations on the day of your event. She's our on-site event specialist, and she's gonna really help make sure that you have a seamless check-in and sales process and that your event runs smoothly. And finally, we have Chelsea. Chelsea can help you get attendees in your seats and help your event get the visibility it needs online and in your local community. So with that, today we're going to talk about Patrick's passion project. He's gonna give us a little case study of an event that he holds at his farm. And we're gonna look at the best ways to help Patrick set up this event, how to promote Patrick's event, as well as on-site tips and best practices for his event. So with that, I'm gonna hand it off to Patrick.
Good morning. Thanks, Julia. Wow, great turnout this morning. Thanks for joining us. Like probably everybody else that's joining us this morning, I live and breathe events, working for Brown Paper Tickets. Outside of Brown Paper Tickets, like Julia mentioned, I own a small farm just north of Seattle called Crow's Feet Farmstead. We do various events throughout the year, but every summer we do one particular event, and that's what we're going to look at today. So the event that we host is basically started out as just a party and barbecue. And so, as you can see here, just have some pies and some barbecue pictures here. Every summer for the last 5 years, we've done this big summer party. The party consists of a buffet meal, games and raffles, live music, beer and cider for the adults, and we even have a pie eating contest every year that we get everybody involved in. Our event is usually by invitation only, but we're at the point that we think it's time to take it to the next level and go public with the event. There are some issues that keep coming up for us though. And that's what I'm hoping that our panel can help me out with a little bit today. First thing is pricing. We want to keep it affordable, and we've set a precedent of having a low price of around $15 for people to get into the event. The problem with that is it barely covers our costs. So I'm looking to double that to about $30, and I'm not quite sure how to go about doing that or approach the pricing on that in general. The second is promotion, and basically we're just not great at it. We're farmers. I know the ropes a little bit, but I'm not an expert by any means, so I'm hoping to get a little bit of advice based on that as well today. And then thirdly, the on-site logistics are kind of a nightmare for us, mostly because it's just myself, my wife, our folks, and volunteers. So I'm hoping we can take a look at that and maybe find some solutions going forward as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my man, Sten Iverson, and let him take it from there.
Cool. Thanks, Patrick. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about pricing. As you can see with Patrick's event, he's set up a few different pricing options. We've got, well, the first thing we're going to talk about is donations. Donations are a great way to collect funds from individuals who want to support what you're doing but aren't necessarily able to attend your event. Patrick, how have the donations worked for you in the past?
You know, it's really handy because it allows people to kind of pitch in if they can't come, or like family members that want to like help us out with, you know, an extra $100 for the cost of the event. So it's actually worked out really well. I did notice though that I have to use PayPal.
Yeah,
that's
something that needs to be set up. In order to collect donations through Brown Paper Tickets, you'll need to set up your own merchant account. This can be as simple as connecting your PayPal to Brown Paper Tickets, which is super easy. The nice thing about donations through Brown Paper Tickets is our standard service fee of 99 cents plus 3.5% does not apply to donations, but you would still be subjected to the service fees through your own merchant account. So something to keep in mind. The next thing I'm going to talk about are group pricing. This is a great way to entice large groups of people to attend your event by giving them a discount. You would set this up on our site with the price point that you wanted. You know, so if you're thinking $30, maybe you would want to do a group discount at $27, but people would need to set up a minimum number of tickets to be purchased at one time at like $5. So it's a good tool to use.
Yeah, like I like to offer like a family price. So
yeah, you could do a family price for this as well. You could set it up as, you know, $25 per ticket with a minimum of 4 people.
Perfect.
So that's a good option. The next thing we're going to talk about are password protected prices, and Brown Paper Tickets offers 2 different types of password protected prices. The first one being just a standard password that you would be able to apply to a price level. Anybody that had that password would be able to purchase tickets at that discounted price level, and they could potentially pass that password out to multiple people and they could all get that discount. Some event organizers are not comfortable with that, so we have what we call member discount codes, which are set number use passwords. So you would create the price level on Brown Paper Tickets and then determine how many tickets you want to sell at that discounted price level. Once those tickets have been purchased at that price level, then that password would no longer be available for people to use.
Okay, so like if I had, you know, my band members that are performing and they want to bring +1s, I would use the code.
Yeah, you could even set up a free price level. So if you wanted to comp the +1s for the band members, since they're providing a service for you, you could set up a free price level, attach a passcode to it, then set it up so that once one ticket was used with that password, it would no longer be available. So
great.
Kind of a cool option. Another thing we'll talk about is intervals. So this is great for couples. Essentially, you can offer like a 2-for-1 ticket, so that if you're trying to entice couples to come out to your event, this is a great way to do that. You would set that up on Brown Paper Tickets by setting up a half-price ticket, but you would then set the interval to 2, so that when people go to the public side of the event page, they would be able to only purchase either 2 tickets, 4 tickets, 6 tickets, however many they wanted.
So if I wanted to do like a buy one, get one free kind of deal.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, great.
Exactly. The last thing I want to talk about is pricing for your event. And this is one of the most critical things. If you're unsure what you want to charge for your event, you're trying out new things. So in Patrick's instance, he's going from $15 to $30. It can be a little bit tricky. So my recommendation is to always start with a lower price. In this instance, you would probably want to set a price of like $25. Sell those tickets for a while, kind of gauge how quickly those tickets are going. If he finds that they're selling fast, he can always increase the price, but If he finds that he starts off at $30 and there's not a whole lot of interest in it, if people have already purchased at the $30 price level, it's really hard to lower the price back down, because everybody who's already purchased at that $30 price level is going to be unhappy when they realize that if they had waited, they would be able to purchase it at $25.
Yeah.
Something else to consider is if you start with a lower price and increase it, if you find that the increased price level isn't really selling, you can keep the increased price level on the public side, but you can also create a password protected price at the lower original starting price. And you can give that password out, to lots of people, so that, hopefully that will increase the sales for your event. But that way you don't alienate the people that have paid the $30 price level, thinking that, they got taken advantage of because, the pricing wasn't fully flushed out all the way.
Right.
So
that should solve a lot of problems. Fix it.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to pass the mic to Chelsea Danish, who's going to talk to you about promo and how to get people into seats.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Chelsea here. I've been an event promo specialist at BPT for 2 years now. Prior to Brown Paper Tickets, I was working as a social media content creator for Las Vegas corporation, MGM International. So when it comes to event promotion, every event is different, but the goal is the same: sell out your event and leave people wanting more. So these are the basics we're going to cover. So we want to boost sales early on by using incentives and details. You want to announce your event on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you want to make your event known to your community and local media outlets. So keep in mind, this is multifaceted. So early on, we want to incentivize buyers. How we do that, we create a higher day of door price or have early bird tier pricing. Kind of mixes in what Stan had to say. If Patrick wanted to take his event to the next level, he would do so by adding that tier pricing to his event. So you have an early bird, general, and last minute tier pricing, which is going to offer an incentives for attendees to purchase early. So if they know that ticket prices will rise and they can save the most money by ordering early on, they'll do so. Another thing is to not be shy with event details. So Patrick did a great job with using bullet points in his description. Humans are info skimmers by nature. You don't want anything to be so long that they don't read important information you need. So Patrick's event attendees are regulars to the farm. So they definitely have a good idea of what to expect. But if you were marketing a public dinner, the best thing for Patrick to do would be to announce the 2019 event dinner menu. So organizers who let potential ticket buyers know what they will be served tend to have higher sales than those who don't include a menu. Also, keep in mind, some people have unique dietary restrictions. So by providing the dinner menu ahead of time, you really help generate excitement about the event and you set expectations for attendees. Another really important thing is to have a chef or artist bio. So it's a really great way to build hype and exclusivity around the event as well. So a chef bio in Patrick's case would be marking his credentials, achievements, culinary feats. This is going to build intrigue and excitement, but it's not just for foodie chef events. You can do this for bands, theater troupes, any visual that you can provide your event attendees that's really going to pull them in. So let's talk about social media. I know it can be daunting, but you really want to get on Facebook. You need to create that Facebook event. There are some really important aspects you need to include. You need to create a clear and simple event title without any excessive words or symbols. No exclamation points, nothing that can't be simply searched. You need to include your Brown Paper Tickets event link for easy ticket purchasing, and definitely use a high quality photo as your Facebook event banner. And lastly, the most important, you need to send out RSVPs. So Facebook invitations are one of the easiest and most effective free ways to get out your event to the public. So by using Facebook invitations, you can reach hundreds of people with an event notification easily and free of charge. For you to maximize the visibility, you need to be sharing the event as much as possible. So I'm sure you all know that the more interested and going clicks your event receives, the more times it is published on various feeds. Think about it. This will increase the chances of friends and attendees wanting to also attend the event, which in turn broaden your exposure. We've all been there. We've been scrolling our Facebook feed, and then we see our best friend is going to an event on Friday night that we had no clue about. So what are we going to do? We're going to click on the Facebook event. We're going to find out what's going on, and we're probably going to attend. So.
Yeah, hey Chelsea, I have a question.
Absolutely.
It's regarding Facebook. So
Okay.
we've tried to boost our event, and we've tried to use that function through Facebook. And I've tried it in increments of like 20, 30 bucks. I've noticed that it really hasn't gotten much traction. Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always tell people start small. So you need to work out your target demographic, and you really want to know who you are targeting within your Facebook event, but you don't want to throw a lot of money to it early on. So honestly, $1, $2 a day, you want to start small, and then you want to see what your feedback is, and then you're going to grow the monetary amount, and then you're going to also expand the target demographic and the keywords as well. So definitely take away, start small, and then build. You don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket in the beginning.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you've created your Facebook event. You also need to announce your event on other social media channels. You have to keep your copy clever, short. You want to avoid using keywords that the site can pick up as advertisements, such as buy now. So Facebook has an algorithm, and they want you to pay them. If you don't have the funds, you need to think of clever ways to get outside of that. So you don't want your copy that you're writing, your posts, to read anything about selling tickets, but you can still get people into your event. So you also don't want to shy away from high quality video and images that are relevant to your event. So as I mentioned, that algorithm, they're really not your friend when promoting an event. So if you're not paying to boost it, Facebook isn't really there to help you. This algorithm determines how many people see your post, but don't worry, there are still ways to get around that and get the visibility that you deserve. So this workaround is definitely a pro tip. So you want to paste your Facebook event as a comment in your event announcement post so that the algorithm does not lower your ranking. Don't worry, your attendees will still see and be able to access your Facebook event. So another, yeah.
Oh, I would have never thought of that.
For sure, yeah. So here at Brown Paper Tickets, we know that a lot of people they don't have a lot of money to promote. So we have to think about clever ways to it's easy to say, oh, just pay Facebook to boost this and that, which is great. But a lot of our event organizers don't have that money in their bank to have that and allocate. So here at Brown Paper Tickets, the promo team, we've really gotten clever with ways to trick the system so that our event organizers can get their name out there without having to sacrifice anything else, for sure. So you've announced your event, you've gotten clever with what you want to do. One thing is really, really important, and I think that a lot of people shy away from. You really need to share relevant quality content to gain interest. So this is really important. You are your brand. What you're showing is what people expect from you. So you want a theme or angle to promote your event or account for potential buyers. So the easiest thing to do is to think of your favorite accounts and look at similar events that you're doing, not necessarily your competitors, but maybe the people that have been in the game a little bit longer. There's really nothing wrong with seeing what they're doing and boosting what you're doing to rise to that occasion. So I want to show you an example of a farm event and a farm company that they're not new to the game. They've been doing it a really long time, and they're really fantastic. So on the left, you have their Instagram account. As you can see, everything is so clear and concise. It's all high resolution images. Everything has a common theme. Everything just is so attracting the eye. When it comes to Instagram, you have a couple of seconds for them to scroll through your feed and decide if they like what you're doing and to follow you. So on the right-hand side, we have Twitter. So you have once again, those high-res images. You have creative copy. They're tagging people that are their affiliates, and they're also throwing in their hashtag there, which is another really important aspect. you definitely want to hashtag. So
How do you come up with hashtags? I mean, do you find them? Is there like a list I can find somewhere?
absolutely. So you want to research. If I'm creating hashtags for a company or even for myself, I'm going to search and I'm going to see what has the most tags, who's doing it, and what they're doing. So with that, I actually researched the best hashtags for Patrick and Patrick's event. And what I came up with was Seattle Farm to Table, Buy Local Seattle, and Washington Farmers. These weren't hashtags that I just came up with. I did a little bit digging on Instagram and Twitter and found that these 3 hashtags had the most shares, the most visibility, and the best creative content. So you want to create a unique hashtag for your event standalone, because you want all of your content to be streamlined into one hashtag, but you also want to hashtag things like this, these relative hashtags that relate to your event and others' events, so that you're going to get more visibility. If he uses this Buy Local Seattle and you click on that, you're going to have a lot of your target demographic looking for that, and they're going to find Patrick's information. So these hashtags are key.
And how many should I use? Like,
okay, so this is an interesting question. I like to use just a couple, and you see it in a lot of professional accounts. If you want to add a secondary comment with a large amount of hashtags that are still relevant to your event, you see a lot of professional Instagram accounts doing this. It's definitely not unknown. If you want to take a lot of hashtags just to get your event seen and add it as a secondary comment and then delete it later when you have enough visibility and likes and followers, you can do that. A lot of social media influencers with nearly 1 million followers utilize that. But you want to stick to the core basics. I say 3 to 4 max in your actual caption, including the one that's unique and that you've created for your event completely.
So starting small, like you said before, right?
Yeah, you don't want to overrun it, and you always want to have it to be completely in line with what you're doing. You know you don't want to utilize Instagood. That has nothing to do, and I know that some of you have probably seen, Insta Daily, that's not a thing. You want to stick with what you're doing in order to keep it professional and cohesive.
Sure.
So after you've hit your social media game, we need to get your info out to the community. And we're going to do that with flyers, community event calendars, and press releases. So I know probably a lot of you have produced flyers before, and you're probably thinking that they don't work too well. If that's the case, you need to really consider getting creative when it comes to where you post and place your flyers. So aside from cafes, brainstorm places in your area where people frequent looking for interesting things to do. So this is going to be your hostels, food trucks, bars, music stores, college campuses, laundromats, etc. You just really need to make sure to ask the staff before you leave the flyers. Also, small square flyers give your promotion materials a unique look and fit better in people's pockets. So the next thing you're going to want to do, community calendars. Every city has one. You just probably don't know they exist. You're going to want to get your Google game on. You need to Google your local event calendars in your area. It's really, really simple and unique. Once you Google and see that it's there, you can submit your event. Your community wants to know what your event is and that you even have one going on. Therefore, you utilize them. Input your event into the community calendar, and that event is going to get seen by anybody Googling events in your community's area. So the most daunting thing that I feel like most of you are wondering about are press releases.
Yeah,
So-
those are kind of scary.
Yes, they definitely are, but Brown Paper Tickets, we're here to help. So a lot of you've all heard of them, but chances are not all of you know exactly what their purpose is. You really need to think of a press release as your ticket to publicity. One to get your event featured in publications or on TV and even radio stations. So editors and reporters get hundreds of press releases a day. So how are you going to make your event stand out? And I know, Patrick, we've discussed this. They really are an interesting beast to tackle. But here at Brown Paper Tickets, we're going to send you a template such as the one you're looking at right now. We're going to walk you through creating it. And then not only are we going to walk you through creating it, but we're going to essentially look it over, offer tips, techniques, tweaks so that your press release is up to market standard. And once it is viable and up to market standard, we are going to share with you a list of curated press contacts. We partner with Cision, and we are the only ticketing agency in the country that partners with Cision. These lists can cost up to $400 to $1,000 based on what your area is and who you're wanting to target. So once we get that press release, we're going to pull you contacts in your area so that you can send out your press release so that you can get coverage. And it's a really, really great feature for sure.
Well, so what's Cision again?
Cision is the #1 marketing database in the US. So it's basically anywhere from the New York Times to your BuzzFeed writers. Anybody that is writing for internet publications, publish, radio, TV, everyone and their contact information can be found within Cision's database.
Oh, cool.
And so we pull their contact information and you send your press release that we help you create to those media outlets. And they choose whether or not they want to, write about your event or even attend your event. So it's really, really great visibility.
Great. So, wow, that's a lot of information, Chelsea. Thanks.
Yeah.
So my brain's like a sieve when I'm doing these events. So what happens if I can't remember a step?
All right, so this is why we are here for you. We understand that, promo, as I mentioned before, it's multifaceted. There's a lot of information, and we don't want you to feel overwhelmed or like you can't do it, because it is quite simple if you just take it down to the bare bones. So I kind of want to talk about what I want you to take away from this. So you really need to boost sales early on, that power of incentives. It's the easiest thing that you could do if you're not tech savvy. You can go in and you can make your event details the best it can be and offer those power of incentives. So with social media, if you're not tech savvy, the least thing that you can do that I urge you to do is create that Facebook event. If you don't have a Facebook, get somebody around you that knows Facebook to create that event for you. If the least amount that you can do is get that Facebook event up and running and send out some RSVPs. And of course, press releases are a large undertaking, but if you're not really to that step yet, those flyers and those community calendars are going to be just fine for you.
Oh, great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so with that, once you've got everything promoted and you're ready to take on the day of, this is where Annika comes in, and she's going to show you how to make your event day of successful.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you, Chelsea, for walking us through the most beneficial promotional resources we have available to an event organizer, ranging from traditional to social media platforms here at BPT. I'm personally here to highlight the best practices for managing the on-site components of your event. From walk-up sales to scanning tickets, the day of functions of an event can easily be overlooked when one is mainly focused on ensuring that the entire event production is running seamlessly. So, it is very important that you, as the event organizer, take the necessary steps to ensure that all planning for the actual ticket sales on the day of your event and the pre-sale ticket check-in are ready to rock with little to no issues. So today I'm going to cover the following 3 topics for my on-site strategies. We'll discuss the pre-event on-site components and planning, the actual day of functions when you're on-site from sales to checking in, and the post-event on-site processes. As you can see here, Patrick's event takes place on a farmstead. This gives him a lot of room to host his annual party and fundraiser. He has space to cordon off areas for parking, a dining area, and recreational and musical activities. while still being able to accommodate for a walk-up sales area, will call line, and pre-purchase ticket scanning line. As the main event organizer, Patrick will want to familiarize himself with the venue. This is establishing points of entry, whether re-entry is allowed, and any parking areas that are going to be available on site. The first and often one of the most important components of your pre-event planning is going to be familiarizing yourself with the venue and its surrounding areas. Establishing how many points of entries there will be for pre-purchase tickets and for walk-up sale tickets, and if you're going to allow for re-entry, establish where the exits are going to be. I normally recommend staking out these specific areas that you're going to have your will call and pre-purchase ticket scanning set up, and also where you're going to be processing your ticket sales. This is mainly to avoid confusion on behalf of your attendees and your staff, and it's also beneficial knowing the layout of the venue to ease the setup on the actual day of your event. If there's going to be a parking area on site or at the venue where you are going to charge payment for parking, ensure that you have a clear entrance and exit so that there is no potential for people to enter the area without providing payment. If parking's free, make sure that there is clear signage for arriving attendees to know where it is permissible to park their vehicles. Creating clear job expectations for each person that will be working with you, whether paid or a volunteer, will benefit the flow of admitting people into your event and throughout the day itself. Which brings me to the topic of the front-end operations management and schedules.
Is that me?
That's you.
That's me.
That's you and the wife life, bud. Isn't that great? And the folks, obviously. Provide those staff, folks et al., helping on the day of the event with a schedule and time that they're expected to be assisting at the front end. I always compose individual shift schedules for persons that are working with me at the front end that include their actual work schedule and also expected job duties. Make sure that it also includes a breakdown of anything that may be occurring at the event. This could be a lineup of bands if it is a concert, activities that are going to be taking place, workshops, etc. In addition to creating those schedules for your employees and volunteers, you're also going to need to gather any necessary equipment. For debit and credit card sales, make sure that you have access to a laptop or tablet for selling tickets on the day of your event, and that the equipment has internet access. If you are collecting cash sales, it will be necessary to secure a lockbox and a starting bank to provide patrons with change. If you plan on scanning tickets, download our free mobile scanning app available on the Apple or Google Play stores under Brown Paper Tickets free mobile scanning app. If you find that you're in need of any equipment, from laptops to ticket printers and tablet scanners, you can always contact our rentals team here at Brown Paper Tickets and we can provide you with a quote. That brings me to the actual day of the event. Dun, dun, dun. I always really like to arrive early on the day of the event, approximately 1 to 2 hours, depending on the amount of equipment to set up and on the expected capacity for the day. Disperse important contact information to all of your employees and volunteers for emergency purposes, and go over the agenda for the day's functions. For walk-up sales, if you have more than one person who will be assisting with sales, and you anticipate a majority of those sales to take place on the day of the event, then I recommend having 2 separate sales areas. One for collecting credit and debit card sales, and one for collecting cash sales. As was mentioned earlier, the credit and debit card sales will need to be processed on a device that has internet connection. For cash sales, you can decide whether you would like to input the sales within our system or just simply place all cash transactions directly in the cash box without inputting them into our system. One thing that's very important to note is that the service fee that's applied to online and pre-sale tickets will also apply to all credit and debit card transactions that are processed on the day of your event, but they will not apply to cash sales. That means that any tickets sold for cash will just be the flat rate. When I personally go to manage an event and sell tickets on the day of the event, I also always recommend adding a day of ticket to the price to the event reporting so that you can note the differences between walk-up and pre-sale tickets. For the will call area, since you've already familiarized yourself with that venue, you know it. You're going to set up that designated will call area, and I personally always like to arrange those tickets alphabetically for the most concise and an easy dispersal and attendee retrieval. That brings me to the next component, which is right after that will call line. At the main point of entry, I would recommend creating a ticket scanning line. At this ticket scanning line, depending on the capacity again, I normally have 1 to 2 persons working. This line, again, is solely going to be scanning tickets that have already been purchased or pre-sales, whether that be on the website or from tickets sold at local stores prior to the event. Patrick's event space also has that area for parking, as you may have seen earlier in my first slide. Again, if cash is being collected in exchange for a parking space, ensure that you also have a starting bank for your parking attendant.
Oh, charging for parking, never thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, get it where you can, right? Once the walk-up sales for the event have ended, and all pre-purchased tickets have been admitted, you're gonna need to begin that post-event on-site process. That's gonna be cleaning up the varying front-end areas, from tidying up tables and chairs that were used by box office staff to putting away sales and scanning equipment that were used for your walk-up sales and checking in. At that point, as the main event organizer, you can also upload any scanned barcodes for post-event reporting purposes. For the cash sales reconciliation, I always, obviously you're gonna wanna separate the starting bank funds from the amount that was gathered for cash ticket sales to cross-check against the total number of walk-up tickets sold on the day of the event.
I have a question, Annika.
Yeah.
So, is there a report basically that would tell me, who paid at the event versus who paid in advance and at what levels and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Under your reports tab, when you're logged into your account, there are several different ways for you to view the actual day of sales and the sales that were processed online. Because we've added on that day of ticket price point, you're going to very easily be able to view under the event reports which tickets were sold directly on site and which tickets were sold on the website beforehand.
Great, and let's say that somebody came, like, let's say grandma comes.
Yeah.
And she has a new email address, so I want to enter her into Brown Paper Tickets somehow, but I don't want to sell her a ticket. She's a guest.
Yeah.
So
there's another function and tool under the box office titled Record Tickets. This will give you the option to set aside any comp tickets, or as you mentioned, for grandma or peepaw. You can select a specific admission level, put their name in if you'd like, put a contact email, contact phone number, and even address if you'd like that. Leave a little note on the order as well, and then save that recorded ticket. The recorded ticket will become a part of your main ticket attendee list. So you'll definitely be able to view them once you've entered that in.
Oh, awesome, thanks.
Thank you. And that wraps it up for me. So thanks so much for listening to my little on-site component. You can always reach out to our team, our 24/7 contact center team. We're all very well versed in the on-site components as well. So yeah, I'm gonna pass it right back on over to Patrick here.
Thanks, Annika. So what I'm taking away from today is basically in the event pricing arena is that I'm going to remember that I'm not going to just increase my start out at a higher number like $30. I'm going to actually incrementally try to work that up from a lower amount because we've learned that you can always increase the price, but decreasing it causes some issues and can cause some frustration. In promotion, I learned a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot and try to do a press release and look into some local calendars. I'm gonna definitely try to up my Facebook game. One stumbling block for me, admittedly, is Twitter. So I'm gonna try to give that a shot too. But I'm gonna focus on that Facebook. I'm gonna announce my event on local social media channels and try to pay more attention to the images and videos and things that I'm putting out there as well. On site, that was a lot of information. Again, Annika, thank you. So I'm very familiar with the area that my event takes place, but I feel like I might have been putting myself into somewhat of a rut because I'm so familiar with it, because I have a set idea of where things can go. So,
Yeah.
so that graphic really helps me kind of figure out where I can block things out, setting up equipment and things like that. It also gives me some thoughts knowing that I'm going to need internet connection and power to run a gate like that. So that's going to take some creativity on my part. So that was really helpful. Being there early, you know, we start usually 2 days before, but I don't think we've ever actually tried to take or check anybody's ticket in the 5 years we've been doing the event. So we're going to have to make that a more formal process. So that's a pretty helpful tip too. And then, you know, consolidating all the cash and collecting it for walk-up sales and just that organization, that's gonna be a full-time position, I feel like, going forward. So what that does is it really tells me what type of labor I'm gonna need. I'm gonna need labor. And so, you know, it's hard to find volunteers or even paid employees. So I was going to ask you, Annika, Brown Paper Tickets can provide some staffing. Is that true?
That's absolutely true, Patrick. Thanks for bringing that up. We do offer on-site assistance. So if you ever find yourself in that rut, you know, hey, I've got everybody but my box office staff ready to go. So if you need that help, you can always email us at onsite@brownpapertickets.com. And we can provide you with a quote for those services and even just help you troubleshoot some ways to go about it if you're not, you know, fully ready to hire us to come manage it.
Yeah, is that true for equipment too?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we can bring equipment with us as well, for sure.
I thought that was right. I just wanted to check.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, basically, you know, I'm coming away from this just kind of with a new perspective, which is really helpful. You know, like I said at the beginning of the webinar, I live and breathe events already, and I'm somewhat of a, you know, expert in my own parts, but being able to actually have you guys pick it apart and break down your specialties really helped open my eyes up to some possibilities that I'm gonna go ahead and try to implement this next year. And I hope I can get you guys to come out.
Heck yeah.
So
thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks, guys.
Now I'm gonna turn it back over to Julia, and we're gonna do some Q&A.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. That was a super great and informative webinar. I'm sure our participants as well as our attendees learned a lot. Now we're going to go through some of the questions that we received throughout the presentation. We're going to try to get to as many questions as possible, but if not, you're welcome if you are running out of time to leave if you have other obligations, or if you want to stick around, we'll continue to try to answer as many questions as we can. So the first question that we received is for Sten. Sten, Matthew would like to know if anyone has used passcodes to utilize Groupon.
We have used that in the past, set up something with Groupon. Annika, I think you've worked with them more.
Yeah, so there are several different events that utilize Groupon and then enter in free price point on their dates and prices page and associate that free price point with varying Groupon codes. So in essence, when somebody purchases a Groupon, you'll have a unique code to disperse to them directly. And then they can go onto our website and reserve their free ticket since they purchased it on Groupon, and you can actually even title that free ticket as a Groupon price.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Great. And then another question for Sten. Karen would like to know if patrons who are buying tickets can also add donations to their order.
You can. You can set up, so what I've seen happen a number of different times is you can have 2 different types of credit card processors attached to your single event. So you can have the standard Brown Paper Tickets credit card processor as well as the PayPal. And ticket buyers will then have the option of either paying with the Brown Paper Tickets credit card processor or PayPal. But if there is a donation purchased at the same time, it's automatically going to get pushed over to PayPal. But you can definitely you can sell tickets to your event as well as collect donations at the same time.
Perfect. I'm going to move on to Chelsea. Chelsea, John would like to know, can I use the show's production in New York City to promote my production in Buffalo?
Absolutely. You can do cross promotion. There's definitely nothing wrong with that. if you're doing the same event and multiple locations, I almost feel like it makes your event more professional and cohesive to let you know that you're traveling. And so definitely shout out that you have various events going on, and there's nothing wrong with promoting various productions around different areas.
Perfect. And then Nikki would like to know, Chelsea, if there were any hacks or tips you had to invite more than the allotted 500 people on a Facebook event.
You know what? No. Because and I know that's probably not the answer that you're wanting, but when you just send your event to all of those 600 people, we almost don't recommend that. You really want to think about who is going to attend your event. Always bring it back to your target demographic. You know, I know that if you have a lot of people on your friends list, a lot of them aren't in your area. You want to be smart about who you're sending those invites to. And you can always mention within the discussion on your Facebook event, you can run kind of giveaways to where you're asking people to share your event, and you can choose winners for complimentary tickets, you know, so that's various ways you can get around that, inviting a smaller amount. But definitely don't just click on all 600 and send it out there. You want to be really concise about who you're sending it to, because you want to send it to the right people.
Cool. So we had some questions regarding press releases. John wants to know where to send his press release to, and a follow-up from Karen is she's wondering if there is a cost for press release assistance from BPT.
Yeah, so you would send your press release to those media contacts we pull for you. So say you're in the New York area, we're going to pull all media contacts, and not all of them relating to your event. So these are writers and blogs and various information that is unique to your event. So we take care of that for you. We send you that list, and it is free of charge. We want to help you. You are with Brown Paper Tickets, and we want you to sell out your event. So this is free for all Brown Paper Tickets event organizers to utilize. Get in touch with us. We'll walk you through it. We'll get your name out there.
Great. A couple questions came in for Annika. Tiffany would like to know, on her last event, they tried using the scanning app and it had some issues scanning. So they ended up just not using the app altogether. Do you know if this is a glitch that's currently happening on the app? Another kind of follow-up from Jamie is he's wondering if there are any plans for a laser scanner that can be purchased or rented, just because, again, there have been some issues with the app.
So for the scanning app, there is a very important step in order to be able to scan the tickets that were pre-sold or any bulk tickets that you purchased from our website. And we actually have some documents as well, just for steps to take that in order to scan those tickets. First and foremost, once your sales end, you'll have to access your account. Under the box office tab, there's a function that's titled Manage Mobile Scanning. You'll have to go to that function, actually upload and add the event and bulk tickets to the mobile scanning function itself. And once you add those barcodes onto the Manage Mobile Scanning component, you shouldn't have any issues actually scanning the tickets themselves with on either a tablet or a mobile phone. As far as the laser scanners are concerned, we do have different handheld scanners that our rentals team is able to provide you with and send you a quote on. If you wanted to reach out to them at rentals@brownpapertickets.com, they can provide you with a breakdown for pricing for the handheld laser scanners.
Perfect. We're getting some questions about the webinar recording and possibly getting access to the slide deck. We're going to be sending out an email following the webinar with our information as well as ways you can reach us. And there will be a recording of the webinar available within the next day or so, and we can see about getting everyone access to the deck. We have about 10 minutes, so I'm going to just keep going through these questions. Chelsea, Mary Ann wants to know, how far in advance should you create a Facebook invite or event on your Facebook page?
Yeah, as soon as you have all of your information. Once you have your event on Brown Paper Tickets, once you have all of your images, farther out the better, because you can give it more time to gain traction. It's a landing page for all of those people that are interested. So if you have a couple of months even to get those numbers raised, even if you're not seeing that translate into ticket sales, you'll be able to utilize those interests and going clicks into possible sales later on. So give yourself a good amount of time, but don't jump the gun. Make sure you have all of your materials. You don't want to start promoting a Facebook event without a Brown Paper Tickets link. You don't want to start promoting your Facebook event without the necessary materials, images, and all details, because people won't have everything they need to commit. So once you have all of that checked off, go ahead and make that Facebook event.
So another question for Chelsea. Chelsea, you mentioned some ways of getting out from under Facebook algorithms that are biased against events that aren't using their paid boosting services. And Anne-Marie, she sent in this question. She also asked, you said that you like to avoid using trigger words like buy now. Was there another method you talked about besides that?
Yeah, so you can utilize, join us. We're really excited about, you can say event, but you just want to take away those advertising buzzwords. You can make it more conversational, with your copy, what you're writing. You don't have to say buy now for them to get the sense that you have an event and that you're wanting people to attend. So if you make it more...
Well, I was gonna say, even make a description, like, hey, do you like this or do you like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're at it again.
Great. Sorry, we're having some, I think there have been some issues with...
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so you don't have to use buy now. You can always make it more, conversational. Same thing with kind of what Annika pointed. You can kind of ask questions. You could be creative, because with that event, they know that it's an event that you're buying tickets to. So you don't necessarily need to spell that out. They know that you need to buy tickets to the Facebook event. So if you make it more like daily fun, creative dialogue, you can get around that.
Or could you even do like a poll? Like, do you like this or do you like that? Like as a poll, would that help at all?
Well, those are two different factors, so that wouldn't necessarily work with a post. But you do have poll capabilities now. You're allowed two various options. But with those to coincide, I don't think that would be good for an announcement post, but that would be a clever post later on to gain traction, to get people excited. So polls are definitely a good idea.
Thanks.
Great. Sten, this is for you. John would like to know, he says, pricing is my struggle. They produce a lot of theater plays and are having some confusion and troubles with pricing tickets for theater. So did you want to illuminate for us a little bit more about how theater plays get typically priced, or any advice you have for that?
Well, I mean, it's really dependent on your area and what you're trying to, what your productions are. My recommendation would be to, find out other theater companies in your area, see what they're doing, and try and emulate what is successful for them with what you're trying to accomplish. It can be tricky. Something else that is good for theater events that I'll throw in is seating charts. We offer free seating chart creation as well as adjustments to seating charts. But seating charts are a good way to make people feel like they're getting more for their money. At the time of purchase, they're able to pick their specific seat, so it kind of makes it a little bit more special. One of the downsides, and it's not really a downside, but it's something to consider when doing seating charts, is staffing of ushers, because you're going to want to make sure that when people are purchasing tickets for a specific seat, but they're actually going to that specific seat. So, you know, having somebody there to check tickets and make sure that people are getting to the appropriate places is highly recommended.
Awesome. There's some more questions for Chelsea. Chelsea, Kenneth wanted to know what you thought about ticket discounts for specific time limits. For instance, if for a week extra, 15% off within like a 2-month promotion period.
So that's why I like to do the tier pricing. You have your early bird, you have your general, you have your last minute. That you don't have to do that discounted rate or kind of do a 15% off promo because they know that that tier pricing is in place. I do like the idea, and I will mention this to some of our event organizers based on what their event is, that if you have a large following and you're wanting to send out email blasts, it's a good idea to do a discounted rate for your past patrons. So you can send them an email blast letting them know and then give them a discount code that's good for just a short amount of time. As you mentioned, you know, like a week or two with the first 100 participants get this code in your email blast. That is a good idea, but I would stick with tier pricing and not so much discounted rates because it kind of blends into what Sten mentioned before. If you have that discounted rate, people might call in and say, hey, I bought this 3 weeks ago and this person got a cheaper price a week before the event. What gives? Can I get that discount? So it kind of gets convoluted. And so you want to stick with either tier pricing or just offering a discount code to your patrons that you have on your past attendee list.
Awesome. So we have a question from Tiffany, and you guys can probably all jump in. I'm going to try to link some of these questions. Tiffany wants to know what some recommended marketing strategies are to promote to college students. As an extension of this question, where do you guys feel hashtags are used most in marketing? If it's Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and that's a question that Alexander had, but I'll let everyone have an opportunity to jump in on this. Since Brown Paper Tickets, we do a lot of events that cater to a wide variety of audiences, including college students. So do you guys have any input on that?
So for me, I know that Twitter hashtags are definitely the main, that's where you're going to find most of your hashtags. But think about it, Instagram and Facebook are now owned by Facebook, so those hashtags can follow over into Facebook, but that's where it's not as prevalent in Instagram, or rather, you find them more on Instagram. And so hashtags are great. You, at the bare bones, you need to have your own unique hashtag for your events. You want to always utilize that hashtag. So you don't want to use too many. It's anything you want to utilize your own. So come up with your own unique hashtag that's not too long. Use it on Twitter and Instagram. It will follow over into Facebook, but I wouldn't worry about putting hashtags on any Facebook posts.
Perfect. We've gotten a couple questions asking what the database Chelsea mentioned was. It's called Cision. Just so if you guys want to write that down for your marketing strategies. Becca wanted to know if the promo team does consulting. And I know, Chelsea, you mentioned that you guys help do press releases, but what are some other services that the promo team can help event organizers with?
Definitely. We definitely do consulting. We're a team of 3 and we are all on different time zones. So I am the headquarters here in Seattle, and we also have Sasha in Edinburgh and Evan in New York. And you can give us a ring, and essentially what we do is we look at your event, we find out what you're struggling with and what you want to achieve, and then we give you tips and tricks kind of to adjust what you're doing for better visibility. As far as what we can do for you, that Cision contacts, we can edit your press release, and we can tweet out your event to all of our Brown Paper Tickets followers.
Great. What is the time frame for sending out a press release? And Nikki wanted to know if you charge any consulting fees.
So we don't charge any consulting fees. We're here for you. We want you to succeed. If you're a Brown Paper Tickets event organizer, we want to help you. So get in touch with us. As far as when to send out your press release, it depends on what kind of contact you're interested in. It's a couple of months for actual in-print publications. It's a couple of weeks for online publications, and it's down to a week for blogs. So you want to get everything taken care of really early on, and then you can send out your press release closer to your event or whatever marketing outlet you're targeting.
Great. So we're just about at time. So if you guys want to hang around, we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. Otherwise, thank you guys for joining us. We will again be sending out an email following up with a link to the recording of the webinar in case you guys came in late or want to have it again for future reference. But again, thank you so much for coming. We loved hearing all these great questions. And again, we just wanted to thank you guys for putting on these fantastic events each year. You guys are what make us want to come to work every day at Brown Paper Tickets, and we love you for that. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of your week.